second part of scene 1. Sorry, I get interrupted with that one. It's going to have to be in 2 parts. But this is a very important scene because Macbeth begins to hallucinate, and we're beginning to see a separation in his own reality here. Macbeth is on his way. He dismisses the servant by telling the servant, "Tell Lady Macbeth to let me know when my drink is ready." And of course, we know, I told you in class what that means. That means really the signal when the guards are passed out and the coast is clear. So he starts heading on his way to Duncan's room, and all of a sudden he sees a dagger hanging in the air. And he says, "Is this a dagger I see before me? It's handled towards my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. Why have thee not, and yet I see thee still? Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight?" All right, so what he's saying here is, it's like going to a 3D movie. If you've been in an audience and you see those items that are, those things that come out at you like this, and you see audience members who are reaching up and they're grabbing, this is what it would look like to the audience, because there's not going to actually be a hanging fake dagger there. This is in his head, so it shouldn't be something that's real. So he's saying, I see this dagger and I'm trying to grab it, but it looks real, but it's not. What's going on? He continues by saying, "Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain?" We can see that Macbeth himself knows that there may be some separation of reality here, that his brain is heat-oppressed. "I see thee yet," is still there. "In form as palpable, as touchable, as this which now I draw." So he draws his own sword. And he says, "It looks just like this." So Macbeth is going to see this dagger in 3 ways, of course. There you go. 3's the key. And the first way is just the handle is toward his hand, and it's right there. He could grab it. Here's the second way. "Thou marshalest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use." If you went to graduation or you were a junior marshal, you know that that's what a marshal does. A marshal leads something in. And he's saying this dagger is marshaling me to Duncan's room. So the second way he sees is it moving up the stairs. And it's just like the one he was going to use. "Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest." So he's saying either my eyes are, something's wrong with my eyes, or something's wrong with my brain. My eyes are right or my eyes are wrong. Something is messed up here. And so we can see that. Macbeth even acknowledges that. And now, here's the third way. "I see thee still, and all my blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which were not so before." So now the blade has blood on it. Blood on our list of things to look for. And then he says, "No, there's no such thing. It is the bloody business that informs us to mine eyes." The bloody business that makes me see this thing. This is all in my head. And then he goes on. "Now all of the world and nature seems one half dead. One half the world, nature seems dead. Everything's asleep." It's got that sleeping and death mixed up imagery. And they're asleep again. Dreams abuse the curtained sleep, the veiled sleep. He mentions this is the witching hour, mentions the queen of witches, Hecate. And then he talks about ghosts. All of this coming from what's about to happen. Then he says, "The earth, thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my step, which way they walk, for fear the very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time." We've seen him say horrid 3 times, and now he says horror. So 4 times Macbeth is saying to us, this is not in my nature. I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to do this. I think it's horrible. It is totally against who I am to do this. "Whilst I threat, he lives." While I'm still here talking about it, Duncan is alive. But he said, "Words to the heat of deeds, to cold breath gives." A cold breath is a dead breath. That's where you're headed. And he says, "My talking is leading me to that moment." Then the bell rings, and we know what that bell means. That means the coast is clear. And he says, "I go." And it's done. Very short, Look at that. The diction, the syntax of that line is very short, very firm, very purposeful. I go, and is done. The bell invites me. Interesting word, invites. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell. That's something that calls, that summons thee to heaven or to hell. Macbeth is going to be the instrument of Duncan's going to one place or the other. And he's not so comfortable with that. And that is the end of scene 1.